Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Mixer Review. So, as you know, what we've decided to, or who we've decided to mix up today is Gachatay. Now, I haven't really seen Gachatay that much in chat, but I have chatted with him. So, hopefully, we've got him here in chat. He said he will join. So, welcome to everybody that is joining us for this premiere. We also have Daniel Storr here. He is joining us today as a guest, but if you want to go and check out his recipes, it's Dr. Storr on ATF. So yeah, Deets, you can kick off.
Okay, so I mixed up charcoalberry fin. I'm going to start with the concentrates. In here, he's got 2.5% TPA banana cream, 1.5% FA blood orange, 2.5% juicy strawberry FA, 1.75 Inawera Shisha strawberry, 1.25 Cap super sweet, and 1% Flavor West sweetener. Just looking at the concentrates, it looked like something I would enjoy. Also, his description got me quite interested in the recipe. I remember drinking a lot of this Kool-Aid type of instant Kool-Aid. And this reminds me of one we actually have here locally called, what's the name again? Okay, I forgot. But we have one locally, Tang. It's called Tang Orange, but it's kind of like orange with, they don't say there's mango in, but it's almost like that. So it's quite similar, and it reminds me of that one. I think it reminds me of the Tang because this has a very similar dairy thing going in terms of the thickness of the profile, not the taste at all. It doesn't taste milky or dairy or creamy in any sense, but the profile kind of gives you that thickness of a dairy. This definitely has a distinct Kool-Aid thing type of vibe going, especially on your aftertaste. So if I actually would say this is either accurate or not, I would say it's definitely accurate. Just taking the Kool-Aid type of flavor profile and aftertaste that it leaves. So it's spot on if it is aiming only for Kool-Aid. I have not tasted the original Kool-Aid charcoalberry fin that he has here on the picture. And I noticed some people in the comments said that the flavor has been reintroduced there, wherever he's from. So back to my notes here. I said it's got that Kool-Aid profile. The aftertaste reminds you of that instant Kool-Aid flavor profile. The orange and strawberry goes together very well. I mean, that's a normal, or in my terms, normal mix, a normal type of profile. And then they add the banana cream, and this is where it gets interesting for me. The banana cream really blends the orange and the strawberry together very well. And it also mellows out the tangerine very well. In some of my very recent recipes, I've been struggling with this specific tangerine on harshness. A lot of people say they don't get it, but when they mix the specific recipe where I'm using it, it's very harsh. And in this case, the banana cream, there's absolutely no harshness from the tangerine that I'm used to. So that was quite interesting because I did expect a little bit of harshness. The strange part of this recipe for me is definitely the banana. The selection of orange and strawberry, as I mentioned, that falls for me to a normal type of fruit profile. I mean, that's not unheard of or very, very weird. And then you add banana and everything changes from normal to strange, but not in a bad strange. It's a good strange. It keeps you interested in the vape. Like every puff you take, that's kind of weird. I would say if you didn't mix this recipe and you're not that familiar with specifically banana cream, you wouldn't know that it's banana. You might recognize it after, let's say, I'll tell you there's banana in it, then you'll snap it. But while vaping it without thinking about it, and it actually caught me like that. I mean, I know what banana cream is like. I know it's in there. But vaping it sometimes was like, wow, that's weird. What's that strangeness in there? And then, oh, yes, that's the banana. So the banana does something awesome in this recipe for me. I think the strangeness is because of the combination with the two normals for me, the orange and the strawberry, and then the banana adds that little weirdness in. On the inhale, I definitely get that full strawberry with the twist of sweet orange on the inhale. Somewhere in the middle or in between of in and out, the banana pops out and then ducks again. So it's there. Suddenly you get banana and then it drops out again. On the exhale, I get the orange blended very well into a very sweet orange type of tangerine, and then it ends basically on the exhale on a very creamy type of well blended combination of all these concentrates together. So at the end of everything, the aftertaste I get is a very nice and sweet banana cream, which I enjoy, and then just that perfect combination of all of these concentrates together. So this was very interesting for me. The only thing I would possibly alter myself is I would add in some WS23, or any preferred coolant, because in my mind, specifically with juices or cold beverages, it's cold, so that just gives it that little bit of a something to work with. All in all, this was a good recipe for me. I really enjoyed it. I would definitely mix it again with the addition of WS23. It's a nice summery vibe, and that banana kind of brings in a little bit of tropic feel to it. It's not really full-blown tropic coconuts and stuff, but it's definitely a strange and interesting juice to vape. So I would definitely mix it again. It's summer, man, so we need some summer vapes. So it was a very good recipe for me. I enjoyed it, and I would probably rate it at about a 4.
Yeah, I mixed this up as well. So I shared a lot of what Dietz is saying. My notes go as so. Yeah, we've got a 2-fruit recipe chasing a Kool-Aid profile. I've never tried this Kool-Aid, but I can imagine myself liking something like this also as a kid. Strawberry and orange is extremely well blended, and this is a strawberry and orange Kool-Aid. So you can imagine if you mix this up, like a powdery formula that you mix up with some water, that you're going to get a well blended mix between a strawberry and a orange, right? Also a smart move to look at a darker orange in here, so that it blends better with the red strawberry, but extremely well blended. So what I thought, what's happening with the banana in here, of course the banana cream was used in here to texturize the mix, okay, but it was used extremely low. And I think what you're tasting there, I mean, yeah, if you want, banana cream went in here, but I think if you didn't know that it went in here, it almost sells that powderiness that you get from a powdered drink that you actually mix up. So I wanted to give props on that, because I think if you don't know it's there, you'll think, hey, but this is the powderiness of a powdered drink like Kool-Aid, right? Banana didn't feature for me as part of the profile. Like I said, it's only there to help out the body. Nice mouthfeel, juicy experience. I found it to be quite mouth-watering. This is the same thing that Dietz was saying, quite a pleasant aftertaste, especially if you like fruity recipes. And yeah, I think it was strategically used, this banana, right? Mentioned this before, but I also said there, I'm sure you can bang in some WS23 if you want to cool this down nicely. It will make a pleasant summer vape. Now, this is in my wheelhouse. I think myself and Dietz, we kind of share a palette with, sweet, fruity recipes. And yeah, so I really like this. Am I going to finish this tester? Damn straight I'm going to be finishing up this tester. Am I going to be mixing it again? I think so. Like Dietz says, maybe with the addition of WS23, it will cut the banana cream back even a little bit more and make the strawberry and orange shine a little bit brighter, right? So yeah, 100%. I think, if you look at Gachatay obviously knows what he's doing when he's chasing a profile, because what I'm reading is is exactly what I'm getting.
Yes.
And I have to give him props for that. So, I want to give him just the tip of my banger, not the complete one, so props. I'll
I'll
just
give you
give him
my
a
tip
tip.
too.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, this was a 50 ml sample over 2 days. It's smashed, man. This
Yeah.
is the only thing I've been vaping all day today.
Yeah, I made
So,
a 20 ml sample, and this is where I am right now, So I'll finish that for sure. Rich?
Right. The first one I went for was Broke Breakfast, which I kept somehow reading as Broke Back Breakfast. And I was expecting like cowboy bean breakfast out on the plains with, some heavy petting going on there. But, that's my damage. Okay, let's get on to it. The notes actually make clear what he's talking about. He starts off talking about the fact that he grew up in a family of 5, and times were a bit tough. They had to get U.S. government surplus food from the fire station and whatnot. And then he talks about the fact that their breakfast rice wasn't Rice Krispies; it was actual rice, which he had in a bowl with milk and sugar and cinnamon. And for that, I have to give them a fist bump, because that's one of my favorite uses of rice as well. If I make myself rice for curry or whatever, I keep a bit aside and have some with milk and cinnamon and sugar the next morning for breakfast. I still love it. So even if it's poor boy food, it's good stuff. Right, let's have a look at the recipe here. This uses Wayne's Yola, which Wayne developed just as a base and a layer, and invited people to use it. And Gachatay was one of the very few that actually did, so props to him for that. Yola consists of 5% FE sweet rice, 0.5% of FA meringue, and I think it's 1% of vanilla swirl in Wayne's layer. He adds an extra 0.5 of vanilla swirl for the milk, to which he adds 1% TFA Bavarian cream, 0.5% of Flavora cream, and 0.5% of FA coconut. Now, I presume the coconut is in there just to buff up those creams a bit. That's quite an old trick. Just add a small amount of coconut to just richens up those milks a bit. And then he also added, he says 1 or 2 drops of Flavora Rich cinnamon and 0.25% of Cap Super Sweet to emulate that sugar in the cereal. Now, first up, I just have to say that anything that is kind of starchy, mildly sweet, milky, and fairly bland is kind of in my wheelhouse. Wayne's buttered breads is one of my favorite recipes. It is what it says it is. It's bread with butter on. Now, I mean that's not a terribly vibrant flavor, but I really like it, and this is the reason I like these milky, ricey, mildly sweetened flavors. They're understated flavors, but they provide great bulk, and they're very gentle on the palate, very undemanding on the palate. So I generally tend to like them. My first impression from looking at this recipe was that there was a risk it was going to, back into horchata, which is the one kind of milky profile that I just haven't found a good one yet. I'm not really crazy about the horchata flavors that I've tried, so I was a bit worried about that. But thankfully, this recipe is not like that at all, and that's largely due to the bulk that you get from that 5% FE sweet rice. That does add a very nice, very blandly flavored, but very well textured template for you to hang the other flavors off. Now, in this case, those, the various creams come together as a really satisfying and quite rich milk for me. It is quite sweet thanks to the Cap Super Sweet in the meringue. Really, the main flavor note that just takes it out of that starchy territory is that little bit of Flavora Rich cinnamon. I use 2 drops. So it's just slightly more forward than you get with the usual one drop per 30 ml, but it's fine for me. It doesn't edge into that spicy cinnamon horchata type of vibe that you often get from Gachatay Mixer. So it works really well for me. Overall, I buy this as what it sets out to be, a bowl of cooked rice with a nice creamy milk in it, quite heavily sweetened with a generous dusting of cinnamon, which gives it the trademark flavor to just move that rice into something a little bit more interesting than just, sweet rice. If there was a criticism, I remember Wayne's criticism, or one of Wayne's notes that he made on Shindo's mango sticky rice, was that he felt there could have been a little bit more texture in the rice, and I guess that could apply to this as well. That flows from the nature of the FE sweet rice, but really it doesn't bother me. I could be hyper picky and look at it, but I don't. This sells itself well for me as a bowl of rice cereal. I really enjoy this. The caveat is that you may not. So bear that in mind. This is my type of vape. It's that kind of understated, dense, starchy, bland sort of flavor. Bland is maybe being a bit unkind, but that is what it is. It's not a proper, rich, vibrant, fruity sort of flavor. So it's in my wheelhouse. If you're the type of person who likes, prominent fruits, or chocolates or nuts or other flavors that really pop and come at you, this might not work for you. But I can certainly see myself mixing this. I'll probably alternate between this and mango sticky rice for my sweet rice fix, and then probably alternate between this and Wayne's buttered breads for my sort of starchy, slightly sweet mix. So yeah, it's not an all-day vape for me, but I can certainly vape it for a few hours at a time. It doesn't put any load on my palate. It's a nice break for my taste buds, and it does give that nice filling, exactly the same as the rice breakfast cereal does. It's that nice filling, comforting, sort of undemanding food that I can certainly have a lot of. So yeah, nice job on this one.
All right, so I did rose milk remix, and let me start off by saying so that rose milk is one of my favorite strawberry and creams, and I had exactly the same experience he did. So he says after his first 30 ml concentrate was gone, he knew he had to try and nail the flavor. So I also have a clone out on rose milk. I think we both after the same thing. It's just like you need to nail the flavor down. And ours differ in a few ways, like more than one way, but we do have similar concentrates. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, Gachatay released before I did. So yeah. So what it is, or what rose milk is a strawberry and cream, like ice cream wrapped in a cheesecake, which is more or less what it is. It's more, I get a strawberry and cream ice cream with a graham cracker or cheesecake like back note, but it's really like at the tail end of the vape. So with this recipe, he's got 1.5% graham cracker clear, 4% New York cheesecake, 2% TFA strawberry, 0.5% super sweet, 0.5% sweet cream, 4% sweet strawberry, 2% vanilla bean ice cream, and 0.5% cap custard. That's the original recipe. He has added updates based on flavors that we know are in there, that he's put in his notes, which is, for one, he says up the TFA strawberry to 3%, take out vanilla bean ice cream TFA, and add in Hankson French vanilla ice cream. And that's his adjustments for the recipe. He also suggests replacing TFA strawberry with strawberry ripe for a brighter version. But I mixed it as he tasted it here, for the first time before we knew what flavors were in rose milk. The one thing that differs on his from the actual rose milk is there's a lot more graham cracker forward. I definitely get the graham cracker note. What I hoped for was that it just added like a maltedness to it. But at 1.5%, it's quite prominent in the mix. I definitely get graham cracker. It's no longer that cookie on the tail end. So I think for me, and that was my suggestion on my recipe as well, was take out the graham cracker clear and leave New York cheesecake for the cookie because there's a touch of cookie in New York cheesecake. Other than that, it's a good strawberry and cream. I enjoy this. I definitely see myself vaping more of this. There's something about the graham cracker clear that keeps me like it changes it from a regular just strawberry and cream to like something with a bit of a cookie base. So in my mind, it's a lot like if you had like not Charles Manson's strawberry shortcake bar. It's got that cookie note to it, and sometimes I don't just want to vape a strawberry and cream. I also want something that changes it a bit. So I think my only criticism, if you were trying to get to rose milk, it would be that graham cracker clear shouldn't be in there. I don't taste it in the normal rose milk for one, and I was kind of hoping I was wrong when I tried this recipe now for the first time. But I definitely don't get graham cracker clear. But other than that, it's a decent recipe. I give it like 4.5 stars. So tip of my banger. But it's a good recipe. It's fairly straightforward. You get the strawberry up front with a cream back note. And then it's also got this like cookie in the middle ground that I get. So I get like the strawberry cookie cream, where rose milk I got strawberry cream cookie. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I also mixed this one up. I'm just going to read my notes as they are here. So Gachatay obviously knows what he's doing when he goes for profile. Exactly the same experience with the Shackleberry Fern Kool-Aid recipe. So like I've got rose milk here. I've vaped through about 50% of it. So I've got a really good understanding of what it's all about. What I didn't know is what Daniel just said here, when he spoke about the graham and he spoke about the cheesecake. When I think about rose milk, I was just thinking rose milk, and that was really all I was going from. And I'm comparing it now to a milk. But first of all, I felt that the rose note, or the rose note compared to the actual OG rose milk, I felt that, of course, it was a little bit more subtle in Gachatay's recipe than what it was in rose milk. I do feel that Gachatay's version is a lot more richer than just cream, a lot more richer than just milk. I get some darker notes from the New York cheesecake, but then the graham cracker notes are pretty prominent in there. I feel that this was a solid attempt at a legendary recipe. I'm sure that if I tried this, I probably won't get as close as what Gachatay did. So props on chasing this profile, and props on getting this close. So yeah, absolutely. I'm at where Daniel is at with the rating as well. Cool. Rich, did you do another one?
Yeah. For my second one, I went for custard cake. Now, if the broke breakfast was a kind of understated flavor, custard cake goes in the other direction. This is now a dap bomb fat kid flavor. It's, as it says, it's a yellow cake drenched in custard. Let's just have a look at the recipe. 2.5% Flavor West butter pecan, 1.5% Flavor West yellow cake, 1.25% cap graham cracker, 0.5% Flavora milk and honey, 2% cap sugar cookie, 2.5% cap at least TPA vanilla cupcake, 5% cap vanilla custard, and 1.5% TFA vanilla swirl. He also adds 0.5% of Baker Flavors cream charlotte, but he notes in his notes that it works fine without it. I don't have it. I left it out because I think it's important to get a review out there with it not in, because I suspect that fewer than 5% of DIYs are actually going to have this flavor. So I left it out because that is the version that I think most people are going to be inclined to mix. Now, my first impression of this is that there's a lot of bakery in here. We got 1.5 1.25, that's 2.75, 4.75, 6.75, 7.25, and then 2.5 FW butter pecan. We've got nearly 10% of bakery flavors in there, and then the custard and the swirl and the milk and honey for sort of thickening and sweetening and adding vanilla on top of that. So this is a pretty heavy recipe, and again, it's right in my wheelhouse. It's rich, it's thick, it's gooey, it's true to profile. It's big chunks of yellow cake with icing and all, drowned in a rich eggy custard. So that's great. I can feast on that all day long. It's got that sort of nice little butter cake richness and decadence about it that I like. One minor problem I've had, I'm going to note this not as problems with the recipe, but as concerns for people who like shake and vape or who like short steeps. He suggests 14 days as a steep, which I think even is maybe a little bit short. I had this steeping for 8 days. I did try it, every couple of days on the journey to the 8 days. It's been for 8 days now. And the two problems I've got, the first one is that the inhale is very hollow. Now, I had this with Silky's French toast, which we reviewed way back. It's just a very strange, bodiless inhale where it feels like you inhaling a hollow, just a sugary crust of something that pops in your mouth, and then there's just nothing there. And that seems to be a steeping issue. It seems to resolve itself over time, and the longer you let it steep, the more that body kind of comes into the inhale. So that's the first problem. The second problem is that at the end of the inhale and the start of the exhale, I'm getting a slight sharpness, which I suspect is coming from the bakery notes. It's almost like a burnt crust off note. Whether that's coming from the TFA vanilla cupcake or the Cap Graham cracker, I imagine it's from one of the two of those, or maybe in concert with the buttered pecan. But there's something in there that's giving me just a slightly sharp note. But again, as I've tested every few days, that note is receding. I would give this juice with the Cap vanilla custard in there and these rich, massive bakery ingredients in there. I would probably give this a month to settle fully. And by that time, I would expect both that hollow inhale and that sharp note on the exhale to have steeped out. So I'm not going to rate those as problems with the recipe. I'm just going to say, if you're the type of person that is too impatient to steep, know that you're probably going to have these issues if you mix this recipe up and you don't steep it. Further than that, I won't talk about the inhale because I'm still getting that steeping problem on that. The exhale is lovely for me. It starts off with this, very rich bakery notes, all these various bakeries blending together, which then sort of gives way to that eggy, slightly oily, vanilla-rich, back of the throat coating stickiness of the vanilla custard, and it's a decadent mix, and it's lovely for me. The whole thing hangs together very well. There's nothing really that I expected the butter pecan to stand out quite strongly in this being, the recipe or being the ingredient that's the highest other than the vanilla custard. But it doesn't really, it blends into those other bakeries, and it makes a very good, rich, baked, brown, sort of crusty bakery whole, which works really well for me in concert with the custard. So yeah, this isn't broke breakfast at all. It's altogether a more in-your-face, a more decadent, a more, filling and vibrant and pungent sort of mix, but in a really good way. If you're a bakery nut, if you like your custards, give this one a month, and I think it'll make you very happy.
All right, so the other recipe I mixed up was holiday pie. So the way it describes it, because now I have not had anything like this. But basically it's a custard-filled pie that's wrapped in sugar cookies instead of pie crust. So I've had custard, pie crust, and I can assume it's just going to be a lighter, flakier cookie note. So in terms of reference, I'm probably not a good point to say, okay, this tastes exactly like the recipe that he was going for. But in terms of what it is as a baked custard pie, it's pretty good. So I'll read off the recipes and then I'll go through my notes. So he's got 0.5% JF biscuit, 1% TFA cheesecake with graham crust, 2% Inawera custard, 2.5% custard premium, 4% sugar cookie, 0.5% super sweet, and 1% vanilla cupcake. And then his recommended steep is 5 days, which I don't think is right. I think I'm with Richard on these kinds of flavors. I would say I've had it for 7 days now. It gets better, but I'm thinking that it needs at least a month steep because of how much is in there and how much custard is in there to develop. Even though Inawera custard and custard premium are quicker steepers, it's just the combination with all the bakeries where it actually needs a steep. That being said, I've got one problem, and this is it's personal preference, but sugar cookie. I don't taste sugar cookie or get the rave about sugar cookie. I've gone through 50 mils of V1, and a lot of people are like, oh, it's the best flavor, but in my mind, it's a very light flavor. It gets overrun by other flavors, even at 4% on this mix. But and this is, I suspect he gets the same thing because he managed to up the cookie content with biscuit and cheesecake and vanilla cupcake. So the cheesecake is sort of that bridge between the custards and the cookie, because I get a very good graham note from cheesecake, and he seems to have used the cheesecake just to bridge those together so that it's a closer profile and it's not so separated. So it's like taking a bite out of a pie, but with a cookie, and I can imagine what it's going to taste like. It's a pretty decent custard in terms of what it is. I enjoy this actually quite a bit as a custard because I always find it difficult trying to find a good custard. And I think I'm not alone there. A lot of people are always looking like, oh, they want the best custard. And in terms of a custard, this is a good one. As a custard pie, if you will, it's pretty decent. Almost like a custard Danish, just without like a powdered sugar note. But it's nice, it's flaky, and it's got a good custard, like a thick custard in the middle.
Cool, guys. I think that pretty much wraps it up, right? Does anybody else have anything more that they want to add?
Thanks for the recipes, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for the recipes, man. I think you've got three of us interested with 3 tips out. That's definitely something. We haven't had 3 tips out in one show.
I'm definitely interested. I mean, I'll be mixing these up, regularly. But you know me, a banger comes twice a year.
Maybe, yeah.
Wow, we got 3 tips and a first pump.
And a first pump. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I've never seen that from Reed, so that counts.
Something.
I'll tell you one thing though. He's got some recipes that I didn't have flavors for, and I'm only making an order on Black Friday for all the specials. But he's got the just like 3 honorable mentions that I would like to try. Is his grape Gatsby. Mm-hmm. His tropical summer, and he's got a spiced vanilla cream, which is sort of like a Christmas feel, eggnog type of recipe. And all 3 of those are his newer ones, and they're definitely ones that I want to check out going forward.
I'm definitely going to mix up that holiday pie. I mean, I didn't mix it because you were mixing it, but that's right in my wheelhouse. I'll be mixing that up.
You'll definitely enjoy it. It's also a lot like what's that flavor that we all like, cannoli. It's a lot like a cannoli. I think it's if he had said cannoli, he would have probably won first prize in the DIY or die mixers contest.
my top recipe of 2018 is Silky's buttermilk pie. That type of thing, that sort of milky pie vibe with it, you know, custard in and so on. That is right in my wheelhouse. So holiday pie, I'm mixing that up right after the show.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool. Gachatay, thank you so much for all the recipes. Keep them coming out. Thank you so much, if you were in chat, for joining us for the show. And yeah, thanks for everybody that's in the chat, that's enjoying this with us. We really appreciate all the support. Shout out to Daytime Frank. Shout out to DIY Down Under. Shout out to Joey Hibberderay. Go and check out those channels. But thanks a lot, guys. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, man.